సరే
ఫోటో రావట్లేదు ఏంటి? ఫోటో రావట్లేదు. వీడియో వీడియో ఇచ్చాడు, కోహోస్ట్ ఇచ్చాడు. వీడియో వీడియో
Shekhar?
Yes, yes, yes.
Am I audible now?
Yes. Yes, yes. Am I clearly audible?
Yeah. Yes, yes, Shekhar, we can start. I've already lost 3 minutes or 4 minutes.
Yes, yes, yes.
recording in progress.
little bit of technical problem. Please,
Yeah,
bear
am I audible now clearly, Shekhar?
some technical problems, voice.
It's okay.
Yes. Yes. Dear audience, am I audible to you? Yes.
మరి నేను మీటింగ్ లో ఉన్నాను, మళ్ళీ చేస్తాను. శేఖర్, ఈరోజు అన్ని చిన్న చిన్న డెంట్స్ అన్ని ఉంటే పంపించాను.
Hello. Yes. Video వస్తుందా? Hello. Am I audible, Jayant?
Start.
Jayant, am I audible?
Am I audible now?
Dear Jayant,
Yes,
and dear audience, am I audible to you?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, okay.
You
Now,
can commence.
today we are going to start the afternoon session now with the two great speakers, webinarians, Mr. Professor R.V. Jayant Kashyap and Thomas Swami Subramani in the next slot. So we are very happy to have these great resource persons, and it is a great moment of joy. Chairman of Aurobindo Society, Sri Pradeep Narang ji, have expressed his great joy by looking at the biodata of all these webinarians. He was very, very inspired by the proficiency, academic excellence, and human excellence, their voluminous academic output, and all these things. So I pay a debt of gratitude to Sri Pradeep Narangji, who is the chairman of Sri Aurobindo Society for 35 years now. Now it's my privilege to invite Mr. Mahbub Basha, Assistant Professor and NSS Officer of Department of English, Sarsiaredi College, to present the biodata of Sri Dr. R.V. Jayant Kashyap. Over to Mr. Basha.
Mr. Basha, are you there? Shekhar ji?
Portal officer, public information officer, academic and website matters. As a member of various committees, member website maintenance and accreditation committee, Yogi Vemana University, Kadapa for 6 years. Member Central Admission Committee, Directorate of Admissions, additional responsibilities to present. Member of IQAC, member Statutes and Ordinances Committee at the present nodal officer and legal cell. Areas of interest: Indian writings in English, immigrant writings, ELT, the softer skills and American literature. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The audio was
Thank you,
not
Mr.
clear, my
Basha.
connection.
Yes. Professor Jayant, please continue.
Yes. Esteemed organizers of this webinar, national webinar on the spirit of national education, patrons of this seminar, distinguished participants, organizers, organizing secretary, my beloved friend, Mr. Shekhar, members of faculty in the Department of English, C.R. Reddy College, and promising students and students of C.R. Reddy College who joined this webinar. I have great sense of appreciation for those students who are having immense interest in participating in this webinar, which has profound importance. And I'm really happy. It's a befitting tribute to the towering spiritual personality, Sri Aurobindo, contemplating this seminar to pay rich tributes to him, to rededicate ourselves to a noble cause, the path that he has shown, the sense of direction that Sri Aurobindo ji has shown for all of us. And C.R. Reddy College has successfully fulfilled its obligation in this direction. Before I touch upon the rudimentary aspects, important aspects, based on his seminal work, important work, the Renaissance of India, the revival of Indian culture, I would like to touch upon a few important aspects. Aurobindo ji is ever relevant in our lives, ever relevant, not only in the Indian context and in the global context. He's a global personality, he's a towering personality. Why? We all should remain indebted to him forever and ever, because he was a patriot to the core. The values of patriotism imbibed by Aurobindo Ghosh in Indians, they are forever relevant, and they make us to remain always loyal to our country. The first quality that we have to learn from Sri Aurobindo Ghosh is to remain patriotic, to love our motherland, to remain grateful to this great country. We all know about his great sense of sacrifice. Aurobindo varu British Prabhutvanlo ఉన్నతాధికారిగా ఉండే అవకాశం వచ్చింది. He went abroad. His father's dream was to make Aurobindo Ghosh a civil servant in the British government. And he had all the credentials. He could have become an officer. But what he thought, let me not be a slave, let me be a master. And a widely traveled, a widely read man who could have got into civil services, ICS examination, he cleared, and deliberately, intentionally, he skipped one of the examinations, the horse riding test, I suppose, not to join civil services. What was his obsession? అతని సంకల్పం ఏంటి, దృఢ సంకల్పం ఏంటి? బ్రిటిష్ ప్రభుత్వంలో నేను ఉద్యోగిగా పనిచేస్తే నా భరతమాతకి నేను సేవలు అందించలేను, ఆ పోరాటంలో నేను పాల్గొనలేను. భరతమాత ముద్దు బిడ్డగా నా యొక్క కర్తవ్యాన్ని నేను నిర్వర్తించాలి అంటే సివిల్ సర్వీస్ లో చేరడం భావ్యం కాదు అని భావించిన అరవిందుల వారు త్యజించారు. This sense of sacrifice is one of the noblest qualities that we have to imbibe, we have to learn. This is the mission, this is the lesson, one of the valuable lessons from the life of Sri Aurobindo Ghosh. He quit, I mean, before joining, he quit. And he chose to be a teacher. He joined as vice principal in the College of Baroda. He loved teaching English literature. He wanted to spend time with the students. He wanted to disseminate knowledge. He took up the task of enthusing young Indians to join the freedom struggle. And when false cases were foisted against him, when he was sent to jail, he became spiritual. He changed his course of life, the complexion of his life. And that was a real blessing for the spiritual world, not the spiritual world of India, but the entire spiritual world. The pearls of wisdom, atanu manaku andichina vivekapu gulikalu, right? The pearls of wisdom that he shared to the entire humanity, they are so worthy, so valuable, so precious, and they have perpetual value, everlasting value. So the first thing that we all of should remember is the immense patriotism in Aurobindo Ghosh. Now, how he relinquished the attractive, the status, he absolved the status, right? And he stayed away from all those luxuries, all those comforts, and he never bothered for power. And he believed in service, serving the nation. And that's one of the greatest things. And his contribution at the Krushi, not merely for literature. He is not to be merely considered as a poet, as a playwright, as a critic, as a spiritual icon. Above all, he was a good human being. His message can be put in a nutshell. In one word, I can say, he was a humanist, a thorough humanist. What was his message? He wrote extensively. He wrote an epic. He has proved to the world that Indians are no way inferior to Europeans. We can touch upon elanti sahitya prakriyana bharatiyalu ఆంగ్ల భాషలోనే రాయగలుగుతారు అని నిరూపించారు అరవిందుల వారు. ఒక ఎపిక్ రాయాలి అంటే, ఒక పురాణము రాయాలంటే అది ఆషామాషా పని కాదు. అది మన భాష కాదు, ఆంగ్ల భాష మన భాష కాదు, పరభాష. దాని యొక్క సంస్కృతిని ఆకలింపు చేసుకుని ఒక మహాపురాణాన్ని రచించగలిగారు అరవిందుల వారు. అతని ప్రపంచానికి ఇచ్చిన అమూల్యమైన బహుమతిగా మనం భావించాలి. ఎవరి గురించి రాశారు ఆయన? సావిత్రి గురించి రాశారు. మహాసాధ్వి, మహాప్రతిభత సావిత్రి, a minor character in Mahabharata. My intention here is not to discuss Savitri, but about his contribution before we go ahead. What did he prove to the entire world? That India is great, India has rich culture, rich traditions, rich heritage, abundance of spiritual wealth. Okay. And Savitri is one such example. Why he wanted to propagate, why he wanted to disseminate the idea of a power of a woman to the world community. Savitri is not a human being, but how she became divine. Human beings can become divine by virtue of their holy qualities. That's what our scriptures reveal. That's what our scriptures glorify. మన పురాణాలు ఏమని ఘోషిస్తాయి? మానవ మాత్రులు దైవాంశ సంభూతులు కాగలుగుతారు. సాధారణ మహిళగా జన్మనెత్తిన సావిత్రి ఎలా దైవికమైన శక్తులని స్వీకరించగలిగింది? What did she change the prescription of the world? She changed the formula of the world. What is that? Birth is natural. Decay is natural. We're all bound to die one day or the other. Birth and death are imminent. But she changed the formula that human beings can rewrite this phenomenon, can change the course of nature, conquering nature. Human beings can conquer nature. Savitri conquered by virtue of her sacred qualities, by virtue of her the power that she gained through penance. How human beings can become angelic in their qualities, can become divine in their qualities, right? How the heart of Lord Yama got melted when she made a plea. She was not selfish. She never sought any boon for herself. She sought a boon for the entire humanity. తన స్వార్థం కోసము యమధర్మరాజు గారిని ఏమి అడగలేదు ఆవిడ. ప్రపంచ మానవాళిందరికీ దుఃఖాన్ని తొలగించమని అడిగింది. అలాంటి సావిత్రి పాత్రని అద్భుతంగా తనయున శైలిలో ఒక పురాణం రాసి ప్రపంచానికి అందించిన మహా కవి అరబిందులు వారు. ఇవి రెండు మనకు అతను ఇచ్చిన అమూల్యమైన బహుమతులుగా భావించాలి. మొదటి దేశభక్తి, రెండవది భారతీయ సంస్కృతిలో భారతీయ పురాణాల్లో ఉన్న ఔన్నత్వం. ఉన్నతమైన వ్యక్తిత్వాలు మనకు ఎలా తారసపడతాయి, వాళ్ళ నుంచి మనం నేర్చుకోవాల్సింది ఏంటి? సావిత్రి ఎలా గొప్పతనాన్ని, తన ఉన్నతనాన్ని, తన సెన్స్ ఆఫ్ సాక్రిఫైస్ ని, త్యాగ నిరతిని ఎలా ప్రదర్శించింది అని మనకి అరవిందుల వారు చక్కగా అభివర్ణించారు తన యొక్క సావిత్రి. సో టుడే we are going to talk about Aurobindo's anxiety about the need to protect our culture. He wrote this essay when there was a serious threat to our culture. We were getting westernized. There was colonial imposition. Angla bhasha manadi kaadu, Angla samskruti manadi kaadu, trousers, bread, coffee, ఇవన్నీ పాశ్చాత్య పోకడలు, పాశ్చాత్య ధోరణిలో వెళ్తున్నాము, పాశ్చాత్య చదువులకు దగ్గర అవుతున్నాము అన్న ఒక ప్రమాదపు ఊబిలో ఉన్న సమయంలో ఈ యొక్క వ్యాసాన్ని రచించారు అరవిందుల వారు. ఎలా మనం ఇతర సంస్కృతులను గౌరవిస్తూనే మన సంస్కృతిని ఎలా కాపాడుకోవాలి, హౌ టు ప్రొటెక్ట్ అవర్ ఓన్ కల్చర్ ఫ్రమ్ ది పెరిల్స్ ఆఫ్ వెస్టర్నైజేషన్. దట్ వాస్ హిస్ యాంగ్విష్. That was his preoccupation, and he wrote extensively, and it reflects his abundant scholarship. A man who is widely read. Aurobindo Vari's scholarship, it is what can I say, stupendous scholarship. అమోఘమైన పాండిత్యం గల వ్యక్తిగా మనం అనుకోవచ్చు Aurobindo Vari. కానీ తన పాండిత్యాన్ని సరళమైన భాషలో సామాన్యులకు అందజేశాడు. తన యొక్క ఆవేదనను భారతీయ సంస్కృతి పాశ్చాత్య ధోరణులకు ఎలా ప్రభావితమై ఎలా కలుషితమవుతుంది, దాని నుంచి మనం ఎలా పరిరక్షించుకోవాలి మన యొక్క సంస్కృతిని మన ఆవేదన వ్యక్తం చేస్తూ రాసిన వ్యాసమే ఇది. This essay has relevance, positive relevance to a system of education. Education and culture are not separate entities. Okay, when somebody is educated, we say he is cultured, he is refined, he is sophisticated, he is civilized. Culture would mean refinement. Culture would mean behavior. Somebody misbehaves, he is ill-cultured, he is ill-mannered. Somebody is barbaric, somebody is crude, somebody is cruel. We say he is brought up in a bad culture. The culture of tolerance, the culture of brotherhood, the culture of peaceful coexistence it has been the hallmark of our country. We have promoted these cultures: tolerance, perseverance, endurance, coexistence, brotherhood, harmony, love, non-violence. So how he glorifies our Indian culture and how he reposes immense faith. అతని సంకల్పం, అతనికి బలీయమైన అరవిందుల వారి బలమైన నమ్మకం భారతీయ సంస్కృతి మీద. ఈ సందర్భంగా నేను ఒక చిన్న కవిత, అతను రాసిన కవితను ఉదాహరిస్తాను. దీనికి ఏ పాండిత్యం అవసరం లేదు. ప్రపంచం ఎలా ఉండాలి, ఎలాంటి సంస్కృతితో నడవాలి అని ఒక చిన్న పద్యం రాస్తాడు. ఏ రోజైతే ఒక పులి, ఒక జింక కలిసి జీవిస్తాయో, these two creatures, they have opposite qualities, opposite traits. Tiger is aggressive, tiger is bloodthirsty, attacking, calculative, strong. At the same time, deer is meek, weak, incapable of harming any other creature. Okay. So what is the jungle law? Tiger is powerful, all powerful, and deer is weak. Deer succumbs before the might of the tiger. This is the order of the day. This is the way of the world. But as a visionary, ఒక దార్శనికుడుగా ప్రపంచం ఎలా ఉండాలి అని వర్ణిస్తాడు ఆ యొక్క కవితలో. ఏనాడైతే పులి, జింక కలిసి మెలిసి జీవిస్తాయో అలాంటి ప్రపంచాన్ని చూడాలనుకుంటున్నాను. I visualize a world where the weak and the mighty coexist, barter brotherhood, barter love, and make this world a better place to live in. And he sends a mild warning to those who become arrogant by virtue of their power. He gently says, the mighty will perish in their might. Right? Might, power blindfolds you. మిమ్మల్ని అంధకారంలో ముంచేస్తుంది అధికారం, గర్వం. మీ యొక్క స్థాయి, మీ యొక్క ధనం, మీ యొక్క సంపద, మీ సంస్కృతిని మిమ్మల్ని దిగజార్చి చేసే అవకాశం ఉంది. సాంస్కృతికంగా మీరు దిగజారిపోగలుగుతారు. మీకు అధికారము, మీకు హోదా ఉంటే అది వేరే వాళ్ళకి, మీ బలహీనులకి ఉపయోగపడే సంస్కృతి అవలంబించుకోవాలి మనము అని ఒక చక్కటి సందేశాన్ని ఒక చిన్న కవిత ద్వారా అందించాడు. ఎలాగైతే ఒక ఎపిక్ రాయగలిగాడు, ఒక పురాణి రాయగలిగాడో, అలాంటి అరవిందుల వారి చాలా చక్కని సందేశాన్ని ఒక చిన్న కవిత రూపంలో మనకు అందించి, ఎలా ఉండాలి ప్రపంచం, అలా ఉండాలి, కలిసిమెలిసి ఉండే ప్రపంచం కావాలి, బలవంతులు బలహీనులు అని ఆశాభావం వ్యక్తం చేసిన కవితని మీ ముందుంచాను. ఈ వ్యాసం వరకు వస్తే what's that he wants? Okay. Rebirth of our culture is a historical necessity. We cannot remain like this. We have our own culture, indigenous culture, inbuilt. Nobody taught us civilization. అరవిందుల వారు అన్నారు, మనకెవరు నాగరికతను నేర్పించలేదు, మనెవరు సంస్కృతిని నేర్పిస్తలేదు. It is deeper in our bone marrow. Culture is deeper in our bone marrow. We are the bestowers of culture. We are not the benefactors of other cultures. వేరే వాళ్ళ ఇతరుల యొక్క సంస్కృతులను మనము స్వీకరించే స్థాయిలో లేము, పరిస్థితి లేదు. మనకంటూ ఒక గొప్ప ఉన్నతమైన ఉత్కృష్టమైన సంస్కృతి ఉన్నది. కానీ on account of misrule for 300 years, how we became self-serving, how we have become enslaved, right? How our freedom was curbed, our cultural edifice was dismantled. మన సాంస్కృతిక సౌధాన్ని ఎలా తునాతునకులు చేశారు బ్రిటిష్ సామ్రాజ్యంలో. ఆ సమయంలో నాకు చిన్న కవిత గుర్తొచ్చింది. హెన్రీ డిరోజియో అన్న మహాకవి మొదటి కవిగా మనం భావిస్తాం ఆంగ్ల భాషలో. ఆంగ్లో ఇండియన్ పోయిట్ అంటాం అతను. ది హార్ప్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా అనే ఒక కవితను రాస్తాడు. ఎలా మన సంస్కృతి ఉండింది ఆ రోజుల్లో. ఒక సంగీత వాద్యాన్ని ఒక సంగీత వాద్యంతో పోలుస్తూ మన సంస్కృతిని అది ఎలా ఉందంటే నెగ్లెక్టెడ్, మ్యూట్, డెసలేట్ ఆర్ట్ దౌ like a ruined monument on a desert plain. ఓ నా భరతమాత, ఈ సంస్కృతి ఎలా తయారైందంటే ఇట్ ఇస్ నెగ్లెక్టెడ్, ఇట్ ఇస్ ఫర్సేకెన్, ఇట్ ఇస్ డెజర్టెడ్. నిన్ను విస్మరించారు. యు ఆర్ మ్యూట్, యు ఆర్ స్పీచ్లెస్, యు ఆర్ డంబ్ స్ట్రక్, యు ఆర్ డెజలేట్, యు లివ్ సమ్వేర్. ఆర్ట్ దౌ ఆర్ యు, యు ఆర్ లైక్ ఎ రూయిన్డ్ మాన్యుమెంట్. శిథిలాల్లో ఉన్న ఒక భవనం లాగా ఉన్నావు నువ్వు. మన సాంస్కృతిక సౌధం కూలిపోతుంది. భారతీయులు ముందుకు రావాలి. నాకంటూ ఒక అవకాశం ఇస్తే ఒక భరతమాత ముద్దు బిడ్డగా ఐ విల్ కమ్ ఫార్వర్డ్, లెట్ మీ స్ట్రైక్ ది స్ట్రెయిన్ అంటాడు హెరిడి రోజు. అలాంటి భావాలే మనం అరబిందుల వారి వ్యాసంలో చూస్తాం. సేమ్ ఫీలింగ్స్ ఆర్ ఎకోడ్. హౌ ది ఓనర్స్ లైస్, ది రెస్పాన్సిబిలిటీ లైస్ ఆన్ Indians, we Indians, to protect our culture. And how we have to perform this duty religiously, sincerely, devotedly. And he says enslavement is a dangerous proposition. Let us not be slaves, let us be masters. Let us not become slaves to foreign culture. Paschatya samskritiki manam banisalaku kavanavasaram ledu. Let us be masters. That he has already proved by relinquishing, by quitting civil services even before joining. Okay. And what is greatness of Aurobindo Ghosh? He never found fault with other cultures. That magnanimity he has shown. At any given point of time in essay or in his works, he never makes any derogatory statements. ఇతర సంస్కృతులను కించపరుస్తూ తక్కువగా చూపుతూ ఆయన ఎలాంటి వ్యాఖ్యలు చేయలేదు. That sense of acceptance. How to protect our culture? We have to love, embrace our culture. At the same time, we have to develop sense of acceptance for other cultures. That was the message of Aurobindo Ghosh in this essay. Okay, what is great about our culture? ఈ యొక్క వ్యాసంలో ఒక విషయాన్ని సుస్పష్టంగా తెలియజేస్తారు. మన సంస్కృతి యొక్క ప్రాముఖ్యత ఏంటి, డిస్టింగ్విషింగ్ ఫీచర్, విలక్షణమైన క్వాలిటీ ఏంటి, లక్షణం ఏంటి, క్రియేటివిటీ. ఇండియన్స్ నో హౌ టు క్రియేట్. మన భారతీయులకు ఉన్న సృజనాత్మక శక్తి, సృష్టించే శక్తి అమోఘమైనది. We have been the creators. We have created philosophies. Okay. We have created ideologies. We have created spiritual wealth. We have created religions. We have created human values, global values. Indians have been the givers. Their mindset is to create, not to destroy. We have never ever displayed the tendency to destruct, to destroy. We never poke nose in the affairs of others with intention to destroy. భారతీయ సంస్కృతి యొక్క ఉన్నతమైన లక్షణం ఏంటంటే సృష్టించడం, మంచిని సృష్టించడం. That he has highlighted in his works. Indians have tremendous potential to create, creativity, not to destroy. It has created splendor, art, architecture, magnificent temples. It has built its own empire, having been enslaved for 300 years. It has shown that written determination to rebuild, because it is deeper in our fold, the power to create, the power to recreate, rebuild. He says, how to revive our culture? We have to break it, we have to revive it, we have to rebuild it, we have to mold it according to the modern times. So that we have displayed. Okay. Every dimension of India is creative. Take art, take philosophy, take science. Jocularly they say India has given zero, Aryabhatta has given zero. But without zero, it is beyond possibility to think about any development in science, any advancement in science and mathematics. Okay. Much before the advancement of medical sciences, Charaka has given a prescription for surgery. Right? He was a capable surgeon even before the advancements came into being. Panini gave grammar to the entire world. India has been a bestower, not a benefactor of other cultures. We have spread knowledge, we have disseminated knowledge, knowledge that creates, not the knowledge that destroys. India has not been the land of stripes, ethnic stripes, internal bickerings. Okay. Maybe on temporary basis, but original thought, original edifice of our culture, it's symbol of peace, harmony, brotherhood, peaceful coexistence. That's what we have learned our age-old culture. Okay. What is this confidence? మన సాంస్కృతిక పురుదున జరుగుతుంది ఎలాంటి నమ్మకం, ఎందుకంత నమ్మకం అరవిందుల వారికి, భారతీయులు అంటే, భారతీయ సంస్కృతి అంటే? Indians are basically God-fearing. We have great faith in providence, in the powers of providence. Once we have faith in providence, we can make progress in the blessings of that unseen, unknown force which pervades the entire universe. ఒక శక్తి మీద, ఒక దైవిక శక్తి మీద మనకున్న అపారమైన నమ్మకం మన ముందుకు నడిపిస్తుంది అంటాడు. You are driven by spiritual strength given by the Almighty, by God, our faith in providence. And then we have faith in spiritual strength, our spirituality, మన ఆధ్యాత్మిక శక్తి, our willpower. And he suggests, if you want to revive our culture, we have to conquer the will. I have to quote John Milton, unconquerable will, invincible will, which cannot be defeated. మన సంకల్ప శక్తి ఎలాంటిది? నెవర్ yielding, ఎవరికి తల వంచను అన్నట్టుగా. Never yielding, never succumbing willpower we possess, according to Aurobindo Ghosh. And conquer knowledge. This is very relevant. This is quite relevant for the students. Conquering knowledge. It is going to be your great asset. It is going to be with you. You can rule. You will be in a position to share, help the poor, the needy, the underprivileged. When you become powerful by virtue of your knowledge, which is a rare treasure, which is a permanent asset. Nobody can grab it from you once you possess knowledge. And what is Aurobindo Ghosh's prescription for the posterity? Pavitral kada andinchina oka amulyamaina kanuka enti? Conquer knowledge, conquer it. Be a conqueror, don't be a slave. బానిసత్వ పోకడను విడనాడండి. ఎప్పుడు విడనాడగలుగుతాం? ఎప్పుడు మన సంస్కృతి మనం కాపాడగలుగుతాం అంటే మనము when we become conquerors of our will, when we control ourselves, when we never succumb to desires, when we enrich ourselves with noble thoughts, and when we conquer knowledge. Let me tell you, am I audible? Is it okay? Shekhar? One of the participants can respond. Am I audible? Mohammed Bhai? आप मुझे सुन रहे हैं? Hope you have unmuted.
Yes, Jayant, you are audible.
Yes, yes.
Jayant, you are very much audible.
During the course of journey, I have to ask whether we are traveling together or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shall I go ahead?
Okay, you can proceed.
Okay. Right. So the unconquerable will power of India is tremendous. Right. It is our strength. It is our asset. And conquer knowledge. So there is a famous Sanskrit verse. Hartaku gadu gocharam maharnishamun sukpushti cheyu satkirti gatinchu విద్యను దివ్య ధనం కలాప్త కోటికి పూర్తికరించిన తరుగుబోదు. A thief cannot understand the value and worth of education, knowledge. Satkirti gatinchu, it gives you honor, it gives you dignity, it gives you decorum. Satkirti gatinchu, vidyanu divya dhanambu, akilartha kotike purtiga ichinan tarugabodu. If you disseminate knowledge, it is not going to diminish, it is not going to vanish. It will remain forever and ever. Right? Till the doomsday, vigantapu velanaina tarugabodu. Vidyanu divya dhanambu, akilartha kotike purtiga nichinan. Aharnishamanu sukupushti cheyu. Knowledge gives you comfort. Knowledge gives you honor, wealth, everything. And Aurobindo Ghosh reiterates it. If you want to protect our culture, if you want to protect our cultural edifice, empowerment is required. Empowerment through conquering our will and conquering knowledge. These are the two capsules suggested by Aurobindo Ghosh. And as I said, we have exemplary creative power. Nothing destructive. But why we failed? Why India failed to protect its culture? And it's valuable message for the youth. Thinking of our super abundant energies, our energies sank during the regime of the Britishers. We have great potential, we had great potential, but they were sinking. They were on the verge of collapse. This is the advice. Energies to be channelized, energies of the youth to be channelized. If they embrace unworthy pursuits, పాశ్చాత్య పోకడలకి దుర్మార్గంలో కాకుండా దుర్మార్గంలో వెళ్తే సన్మార్గాన్ని వీడి యువత ప్రజలు, how it becomes futile, our energy to be spent in the right manner, right direction. If energy is abused or misused, it is to our peril, mana danger, manaki pramadam ani suchincharu Aurobindulo varu. And why our culture confronted a critical situation, cessation of intellectual activities. మన మేధాశక్తిని దుర్వినియోగం చేశాం. మేధాశక్తి, అద్భుతమైన మేధస్సు కలిగిన దేశం భారతదేశం. మేధస్సును ప్రయోగించి అద్భుతాలు సృష్టించే శక్తి ఉన్న భారతదేశ ప్రజలని ఆ యొక్క శక్తిని ఉపయోగించే పరిస్థితి ఆ రోజుల్లో ఉండేది కాదు. Cessation of intellectual activities. They have come to a standstill because there was almost an iron curtain not to speak about against the government, not to promote patriotism. The movements were curbed. There was no freedom of speech, no freedom of expression, no freedom of movement. We were fettered, we were shackled. బందీలను చేశారు. శృంఖలాలో, వారసపు శృంఖలాలో మగ్గాం మనము 300 సంవత్సరాల పాటుగా. When there was cessation of intellectual activities that led to the collapse of our culture. No education, no culture. Education emancipates individuals from social evils, social stigmas. Right? And our culture got polluted because education was forsaken those days. Right? And spiritual activities, we fell short of spiritualism. We forgot our spiritual past and we were becoming irrational. సహేతుకంగా ఆలోచించే శక్తి కోల్పోయాం ఆ రోజుల్లో. బానిసలుగా సహేతుకత లేదు. Rationality, there was no sense of good and bad. When we lost rationality, we distanced ourselves from spirituality. So this is a complex thing, rationality and spirituality. But what, as students, you have to understand. I remember once Kalam went to a college, Abdul Kalam, the great icon of India, icon of the youth in particular. Once he was visited, once he visited engineering college, he was invited. He went around the entire campus. The campus was well equipped with all the infrastructure, excellent campus. They spent crores of rupees. And before addressing the students of the college, మీ కళాశాలలో అన్ని సదుపాయాలు ఉన్నాయి కానీ ఒకటే లేదు. అది ఉంటే ఇంకా బాగుండేది. అది లేదు కాబట్టి ఇవన్నీ ఉన్నా వాటి ముందు అది ఇట్ shrinks in size. ఎన్ని వస్తువులు ఉన్నా ఎన్ని సౌకర్యాలు ఉన్నా ఆ యొక్క సౌకర్యం లేనందున ఇవి చిన్నగా అనిపిస్తున్నాయి నాకు. అక్కడ ఉన్న వైస్ ఛాన్సలర్ గారు, ప్రిన్సిపల్ గారు ఒకరి ముఖాలు ఒకరు చూస్తున్నారు. అన్ని ఉన్నాయి, మన దగ్గర ల్యాబ్స్ ఉన్నాయి, లైబ్రరీ ఉంది, ఫ్యాకల్టీ ఉన్నారు, బస్సులు ఉన్నాయి, ఎక్సలెంట్ లైబ్రరీ ఉంది, ఇన్ఫ్రాస్ట్రక్చర్ ఉంది, ఇంకేం లేదు. ఒక స్పిరిచువల్ సెంటర్ లేదు మీ దగ్గర, ఒక మెడిటేషన్ సెంటర్ లేదు. అది మన యువతకు కావాలి. స్పిరిచువల్ స్ట్రెంగ్త్ కావాలి. టు రైజ్ టు ది అకేషన్, టు థింక్ పాజిటివ్. I think it is worth mentioning this observation by Abdul Kalam in this context. And what is spirituality? According to Aurobindo Ghosh, I'll explain towards the end of my talk later. And he says, blind imitation to the best. We failed because we blindly imitated. We didn't demonstrate our rationality, our wisdom. మన విచక్షణ కోల్పోయాం, వివేకం కోల్పోయాం, బుద్ధిగా అవలంబించాం పాశ్చాత్య పోకడలను. అందువల్ల మనం సాంస్కృతిక దాడి తట్టుకోలేకపోయాం. We were weakened. We became weak. We were rendered weak on account of enslavement for a protracted period of 300 years. And we were blindfolded. We were aping the West indiscriminately. We were not shown the sense of discrimination. Thanks to our freedom fighters, thanks to intellectuals, thanks to thinkers like Aurobindo Ghosh, who enthused us, who enlightened us through their writings, through their talks about the importance of our culture, how we have to remain awake, how we have to remain sensitive, how we have to remain cognizant to all the finer aspects of our culture. And he said, the onus lies on the Indians to rebuild our culture, to revive our culture. Okay. And how it is possible? He says, always embrace good in other cultures. If they are making progress in science and technology, let us get inspired. Let us not stay away. Let us not cling leech-like to insane ideas of bad traditions. And the bright aspect, one of the brightest aspects, is progressive thinking of Aurobindo Ghosh ji. He was progressive in his thinking. He wanted us to embrace what is good in other cultures, what is good in contemporary trends. We can call him a major bridge builder between tradition and modernity. And his absolute faith in humanity. If you deny the evils of our old culture, and he has great respect for those great social reformers, how the educated people, the enlightened people, to renounce bad things in our culture, like sati, child marriages. He makes a mention of Arya Samaj and Brahma Samaj, who has contributed substantially for social reformation. సాంఘిక పునరుద్ధరణకు కృషి చేసిన రాజా రామ్మోహన్ రాయ్ గారిని, ఈశ్వర్ చంద్ర విద్యాసాగర్ గారిని కొనియాడారు తన యొక్క వ్యాసంలో అరవిందుల వారు. ఏదైతే పాశ్చాత్య సంస్కృతిలో, పాత సంస్కృతిలో ఏవైతే రుగ్మతలు ఉన్నాయో వాటిని నిర్మూలించండి, ప్రగతిశీల వాదులుగా ఉండండి, ప్రోగ్రెసివ్ గా ఆలోచించండి అని తన వ్యాసంలో పేర్కొని ఒక నూతన సందేశాన్ని మనకు అందించారు శ్రీ అరవిందో ఘోష్. And he says we have to always remain indebted to Britishers. Their selfishness triggered our passion to grow. They were selfish. They came here with selfish motive of pursuing their business. వ్యాపార ధోరణితో వ్యాపారాన్ని పెంపొందించుకునే వచ్చారు ఇక్కడికి. ఆంగ్ల భాషను ఇచ్చింది మనల్ని పండితులు చేయడం కోసం కాదు. The intention of introducing English was not to make us scholars, to recruit clerks for the administration. Yet we mastered this language. But what Aurobindo Ghosh says, their motive of Anglicization helped us to grow stronger. The result of bad intention, the outcome of bad intention came to be good. It yielded good results. The intent once was bad and the result was good. According to Aurobindo Ghosh, very logically he argues. Okay, and what fact of advice he gives? Okay, let us shun foreign influences. Let us be away from foreign influences. If there's something is bad, let us accept what is good. Let us reject what is bad. And we have to awaken our spirit of intellect and expand our horizons of thinking. This is the piece of advice he gives to all generations. Expand the horizons of thinking. Let it be broad thinking, not narrow thinking, not peevish, parochial thinking. Inculcate that broad outlook and awaken your spirit. Okay. And he is not against modernity. He quotes two poets, both are Bengalis. The opinion of Aurobindo Ghosh is a powerful place. He uses the word Shakti. There is Shakti in Bengal, Kali Mata. And he cites two poets and who embrace modernity. Today we talk about feminism. స్త్రీవాదం గురించి మాట్లాడతాం. ఐరోపా ఖండంలో మొదలై ప్రయాణం సాగిస్తున్న స్త్రీవాదాన్ని అంతకంటే బలీయంగా బంకిం చంద్రుల వారు తన తొలి నవలలో ప్రస్తావించారు. ఉమెన్ ఎంపవర్మెంట్. He spoke about women empowerment in his first and last novel in English, Rajmohan's Wife. బంకిం చంద్రుల వారి ప్రస్తావన తెస్తారు అరవిందో ఘోష్ ఆ యొక్క వ్యాసంలో. మహిళా సాధికారత గురించి అప్పుడే మాట్లాడారు. ది మోరల్ కరేజ్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియన్ ఉమెన్, how she can transform domestic lives, social life, how she can be part and parcel of our culture, how she remains part and parcel of the progress of our country, how women's education is utmost necessity. He writes, he says, writing Savitri was a historical necessity. సావిత్రి గురించి రాయడం ఒక చారిత్రాత్మక అవసరం అంటారు అరవిందుల వారు. చరిత్రలో మిగిలిపోయిన యొక్క వ్యక్తిత్వం అది. చరిత్రకు చాలా అవసరం, మానవాళికి చాలా అవసరం. ఆమె ప్రదర్శించిన సహనము, ఓర్పు, పవిత్రత, కష్టాలని ఎదుర్కొని embracing difficulties. No woman, sensible woman would come forward to embrace difficulties, but Savitri has disproved it. Women can overcome those stumbling blocks, those impediments of life. అవరోధాలు ఎదుర్కోగలుగుతుంది, సాధించగలిగిన శక్తి భారతీయ మహిళకు ఉంది అని చాటి చెప్పిన నవల బంకిం చంద్ర. అది మోడర్నిజం. Not confined to four walls, seeing the wide world outside. Question, liberate herself. Question injustices, liberate herself from evils. Be a savior. How be a house maker. And he talks about Tagore, Rabindranath Tagore, who wrote with some sort of scientific temper too. Tagore was a rationalist, was a humanist. He has shown a lot of rationality. And much before, he did foresee water wars, ethnic strifes. He wrote a play called Muktadhara. How science can bring perils. If science is misused, science is abused, how it causes disaster. It's about a construction of dam. The duty of science The obsession of science should be to bridge, to bring people on one platform, to congregate them, to harmonize the minds, not to pollute the minds, not to create ill will. Prajallo, Puratwani, Karkashatwani, hatred, Doshanni Penchendu Kadu, science Undavalasindi, modernate Undavalasindi. Science with human face. Science without religion is perilous, Einstein said. Okay. And he quotes these two poets. And he is all praise for those two great social reformers. Okay. And in this seminal essay, there Goppa Mahan Bavulaki Nival Narpistar, Aurobindo Varu. Those two great towering personalities are Swami Vivekananda and Swami Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. How they brought metamorphosis, అద్భుతమైన మార్పును తెచ్చారు ఆలోచన విధానంలో భారతీయులు. వాళ్ళిద్దరికి గణ్యవాళ్ళు అర్పిస్తూనే how we have to have an immense faith in our Vedas, in Vedic principles, in Gnana, Bhakti and Karma. These are the three ideals ever to be cherished ever, forever, to be relished forever, to be embraced forever. Gnana, knowledge, Bhakti, devotion, Karma, destiny. If we distance ourselves from these three great ideals bestowed by our ancestors, we are digging our own graves. మన సంస్కృతి యొక్క సౌధాన్ని మనం కాపాడుకోవాలంటే మన దగ్గరే ఉన్నాయి. Solutions we have great weapons. They are Gnana, Bhakti and Karma. Doing good, having faith in our own abilities, remaining dutiful, gaining knowledge, using knowledge for better, wiser purposes, for saner purposes, and God-fearing nature, submission to God, submission to some unknown force that animates this universe. This is how we can cleanse our lives, we can build our lives, reshape our lives. Okay. And he says we have to embrace the religion of humanity. Okay, I said in the beginning of my talk that divinity lies in humanity. Human being can become divine. That's the message of Aurobindo Ghosh. How Savitri became divine, how she could cross the river Vaitarani, which was beyond possibility of any normal human being. How Lord Yama was flabbergasted when Ella the Bank Grayad, Vaitan Madani, that in the Mahasadvi Savitri. Lord Adbhutamana Shakti Navidlo. Etanti Pativatyamundi. Elanti Votu, Elanti Sahanam. ఆ ప్రదర్శించింది. బుద్ధి వాళ్ళని ముసలి వాళ్ళని ప్రాణం కోల్పోయిన భర్తను అక్కడ పెట్టుకుని ఎలా నిబ్బరంగా ఉండగలిగింది, ఎలా మనోధైర్యంతో ఆ యొక్క పరిస్థితిని ఎదుర్కొనింది, ఆ విధంగా ఎలా ఔన్నత్యాన్ని సాధించింది సావిత్రి అని గొప్పగా వర్ణించారు. భక్తి యొక్క with the advantages of భక్తి, భక్తి యొక్క ఫలితాలు ఎలా ఉంటాయి, అద్భుతమైన భక్తి యొక్క ఫలితాలు మనలో మనస్థైర్యాన్ని ఎలా పెంచుతాయి అని చక్కగా చెప్పడం జరిగింది అరవిందుల వారు. అండ్ దిస్ స్పిరిచువాలిటీ అకార్డింగ్ టు మీ is not wearing saffron dress, holding a holy mantle with holy water, going to Himalayas. There is not spirituality. Okay. According to Aurobindo Ghosh, to remain spirited, rise to the occasion, to work sincerely, to work hard, purity of mind, purity of thought. Spirituality is gaining vigor, strength, vitality, moral courage to do good. That's spirituality. Not renouncing the world, not sacrificing. That is different kind of spirituality. To remain spirited, to remain strong, to remain invincible, to remain passionate, to remain strong forever and ever is spirituality in the opinion of Aurobindo Ghosh. And he talks about science. He says we have to welcome the developments in science. There's the need for our country to make progress in science and technology. He talks about two scientists, one among, I think, is Sir C.V. Raman, who proved his world that Indians have that great stuff to pursue science and to bring out marvels. Today we talk about luxuries, comforts, facilities, infrastructure. I remember once C.V. Raman saying when he was working in Calcutta, he used to work in AG's office, go by bicycle to his office and come back in the evening to work tirelessly on his Raman effect. No uninterrupted power supply, no air condition, no fans in the lab. It was a tin shed, and he worked rigorously and achieved success and gave Raman effect to the entire world. He said, all I need is the tin shed and good brains working under it, not a ground brick or mortar structure. I don't want brick mortar structure. Good brains, creative minds, constructive minds working under it. Tin shed is enough. So he makes a reference to those great scientists who contribute substantially for development of science in our country. Science is not a taboo, according to Aurobindo ji. Science is to be used judiciously. Science is to be used with spiritual values, keeping in mind the welfare of humanity, the progress of humanity, the betterment of humanity. In every walk of life, there is spirituality. Aurobindo Ghosh says, there's melody in our lives. He says it's song, music, it's a powerful music which harmonizes our mind. He gives a wonderful prescription. If you want to face challenges of modern life, you have to go by reason. And we have to have that more thinking, modernized, modern thinking. Respecting, honoring tradition and embracing modernity. Striking a perfect balance between tradition and modernity. And go by reason. Wonderful word used by Aurobindo ji. Reason. When we lose reason, when we become passionate, we become blind to what is good. When we become irreasonable, right? And we resort to violence. To go by reason, there's the greatest gift endowed by the Almighty to human beings. And spirituality, as I said, is not renunciation, is not relinquishing. It is seeking vigor, it is seeking light, it is seeking joy with the right earnest. As we said, India is not a bhoga bhumi, land of lavishness, land of pleasures. It is a karma bhumi, land of destiny, where people work hard, where people believe in hard work, diligence, believe in honesty. It is not place for meaningless pleasures which bring no peace, which cause unrest in our minds. And finally, he says, we have the power not only to address the problems of India. Indians have stupendous potential, humongous potential, great potential, adbhutమైన శక్తి. ఎలాంటి శక్తి అంటే Indians can address the problems of entire mankind. So that's how he reposes faith in our system of education, in our cultural prowess and tradition and modernity. And with these few ideas, I conclude my speech. And now it's over to the organizers. I think I've encroached 5 to 6 minutes, right? And another speaker must be waiting. Please, Mr. Shekhar. Some more time. Shekhar?
Jayant, am I clear to you, Jayant?
Yes.
Yeah. The next speaker is ready in one
Yes.
minute. He will join. He said 5 minutes ago he is ready, sir. Like that, he said.
Any participant has anything
Now-
to ask, they can send a mail because we cannot keep the gentleman waiting.
I think
my learned colleague-
nobody has raised his or her hand. It seems.
Yeah.
I think because your exposition is very lucid, I think there may not be any doubts.
Okay.
And I don't know
It is
how
a compliment.
to thank you enough. Thank you enough for your extempore, very inspiring presentation to the youngsters. It's a wonderful thing. Actually, last year or before last year, I asked you to come and deliver a lecture in the offline mode, but it did not happen.
Next time I will make it sure.
So next time you have to promise me that you
if you find me
should come
worthy
in
enough, I will
person.
sure come, Shekhar.
Definitely. You have rich experience. Your services are needed to the student community to enthuse them, to encourage them, to elevate them, to ennoble them like that. So it's really great pleasure, great joy. Sri Chairman of Sri Aurobindo Society, Sri Pradeep Narangji also expressed his great joy about this seminar and the profile of the resource persons, all of
My
you.
respectful regards
So,
to Pradeep ji.
thank
My
you.
respectful regards to him. I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure
thank
that
you. We will
the
definitely.
takeaway from this webinar will be quite fruitful for the participants.
Yeah. We will write a detailed report,
Sure.
and the report will be sent to the higher authorities also.
Thank you, Shekhar. Right. We'll catch up.
Yes.
To all the participants,
Thank you
have a nice
so
day.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah. We will. We will go to the next speaker. So thank you so much.
Right.
Please convey my. I will convey my once again heartfelt gratitude to you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I am speaking from the veranda because there is some audio disturbance if I am in the hall.
No problem. Right. Take care.
We have arranged our students in the audio visual hall so that we are sharing the screen so that they can have the more effective visual effect.
Yes. All these things happen in webinars.
Yeah. So to avoid noise pollution, I am speaking from the veranda, and otherwise I am silently.
Sense of gratitude to the organizers for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah. I am the organizing secretary.
Thank you very much, Shekhar.
So from the Department of English, RCRD Autonomous College,
I
our
feel
college
honored to be
management
here.
always. College management is always proactive in arranging these programs. They spend lavishly for seminars and webinars, international conferences. For the good of the student, they will do anything.
Yes.
They spend a lot of money. They don't think twice to spend for students.
Really laudable.
Yeah. Annually, every year we give 3,70,000 annual scholarship. Each student 5,000 and the endowment scholarships also. Thank you.
Right, Shekhar ji.
Thank you.
Good day. Pranam.
Pranam. Now, it's a great joy. Audio. Now it's my privilege and great joy to invite Dr. Ramaswamy Subramani, Professor of English, having rich experience of 23 years and presently working in Central University of Chhattisgarh, very eminent person, and his biographical note will be read out by Assistant Professor Professor G. Gautami Mishra. Over to Gautami Mishra.
Good afternoon all.
Welcome, Dr. Swami, Dr. Ramaswamy garu. Welcome.
I deem it a privilege to be here, and it's my honor to introduce the resource person, Dr. Ramaswamy Subramani. Dr. Ramaswamy Subramani is a professor in English from Guru Ghasidas Vishwavidyalaya, which is a central university in Chhattisgarh. He was born on 5th August in the year 1976 in Tirunanthapuram, which is capital city of Kerala. He is acquainted with the languages like Hindi, English, Malayalam, and he had completed 10th class from ICSE board. He did pre-degree in English literature and history. He did BA in English from Kerala University. He pursued his master's in English from MS University, Tirunelveli. He had PhD in English from Sri Chandrakarendra Saraswati Vishwa Mahavidyalaya. He was a member of the Book Purchase Grant in Aid Committee of the Ministry of Education. He has done an ICSSR project on Aurobindo and a fellowship project on the topic Vedic heritage of Tamil Nadu for India Policy Foundation, New Delhi. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Ramaswamy, you can start your presentation, Ji.
Yes.
Ramaswamy Ji.
Yes, sir.
Before you start, Ramaswamy Ji, I must tell you that Chairman Sri Pradeep Narang Ji of Sri Aurobindo Society has expressed great joy and inquired about you also, because you have done a PhD on Sri Aurobindo and a host of Indian great geniuses, cultural tradition and all that. Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Namaste, Om Namo Bhagavate. Sir, Chandrasekhar Ji, Chandrasekhar Reddy Ji,
Yes, Ji.
and
Please proceed.
the management of your college, the eminent staff of your college. I'm grateful to all of you for having invited me for this webinar. Also, I'm grateful to the supramental avatar Sri Aurobindo and the mother, whose presence is there in this seminar. Sri Aurobindo, as we all know, had a very anglicized upbringing. He was educated in England. Even in England, he was a genius. He was well versed in English, Latin, Greek, French, and he wrote several poems in England when he was during his stay in England. His tutor at Cambridge University said that the papers of Sri Aurobindo in English are perhaps the best papers, answer papers that he had received from any student at Cambridge University. He was a genius of language. Sri Aurobindo was a genius of language. He also suffered from enormous poverty during his stay in England. He chose not to join the ICS because his father was in the beginning very anti-India, slowly veering towards India and sent his son paper cuttings about news reports which are not favorable to British rule in India. Sri Aurobindo himself was member of a secret group at Cambridge which discussed the freedom of India. The intelligence reports had also gone to the British authorities regarding that. So they were extremely happy when Sri Aurobindo chose not to join the ICS. He returned to India and was vice principal of the college at Baroda and also professor of English and French. In his Baroda years, he studied Sanskrit and Bengali, and he purchased innumerable books of poetry and read poetry in different Indian languages and in English extensively. He translated sections of the Mahabharata, the Ramayana from Sanskrit to English, Kalidasa, and he spent his days and nights reading books. K. Munshi was his student at the time, and K. Munshi has said that Sri Aurobindo used to point out the map of India and say, consider this as your mother. In a series of articles written anonymously, New Lamps for Old, Sri Aurobindo criticized the British, the then Congress in 1892 for not caring about the masses of this country and caring only about the elite classes of this country. Later, he was one of the editors of Bande Mataram, a journal which was highly influential in this country, in which he wrote again and again about the cultural greatness of India, about the spiritual greatness of India, the spiritual strength of India. It was the period when Indians suffered from a lot of inferiority complex. The British rule was exploiting them. The colonial education taught them that they were an inferior race. The way the British treated Indians, especially the Indians in the rural masses, how they were exploited, was something which many Indians at that time felt sad about, but were also helpless. Hence, Sri Aurobindo's articles in Bande Mataram were they are highly inspiring. They inspired future freedom struggle leaders of the freedom struggle like Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and others. Sri Aurobindo dealt with innumerable issues in Bande Mataram. He dealt with the Hindu-Muslim issue. He asked Indians to see the divine in each other. He was very highly, while speaking about the greatness of India's past, he was highly critical of some of our social customs too. He was against untouchability. He has written in Bande Mataram as well as another journal which he edited after being acquitted in the Alipur bomb blast case, Karmayugin. In that, he has also written that no civilized society will treat 1/4 of its population as untouchables. Just as Swami Vivekananda had a strong social side, Vivekananda said, our religion is the kitchen. Our religion is don't touch me. Sri Aurobindo also wrote about social reform. But essentially, he said, there should be a spiritual regeneration of the country. The country has fallen down. There should be a spiritual regeneration. We have to tell Indians the greatness of their past. We have to tell them about the infinite strength in the Indian traditions. He had Muslim disciples also. Vande Mataram was there was a Urdu edition of Vande Mataram which was published from Lahore, and he spoke extensively about Indian Renaissance, which was all inclusive, which included all the people of India. And in Alipur jail, he studied the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita. He did enormous sadhana, and he had the vision of Vasudeva. He saw Vasudeva everywhere. He saw Vasudeva in the judge. He saw Vasudeva in the jailer. And hence, he has written a very humorous, beautiful, very literary book in Bengali, published by Sri Aurobindo Ashram, now in English translation, about his prison years, in which he says that the Alipur prison was not a prison for him. It was, he calls it ashram. It was the Alipur ashram, in which he says he had Sakshat Darshan of the Lord. And he says they were Muslims, Christians, Brahmins, peasants, so many kinds of people in the jail. But he could see that the wonderful qualities, the sterling qualities in them. He was able to see the entire country in the prison. He was able to get the people from Madras were there, people from Malabar were there, people from all communities were there, people from all religions were there. He got a first-hand experience of the diversity of India. And he says they possess, these so-called criminals possess qualities which I did not have. They have wonderful qualities, he says. So he was able to see good in everything in the jail. And he had to bear innumerable, the British government was highly sadistic, and facilities were not provided for him in the jail. Yet he was able to get blissful experiences in the jail. He went through a period of spiritual transformation in the jail, in the Alipur jail. Hence, Alipur jail was his ashram. He describes all the characters in his jail experience in a very humorous tone. When he was acquitted from the Alipur bomb blast case, he edited a journal, Karmyogin, which is more Shakti-packed. Karmyogin is a work that we all, if published in the collected works of Sri Aurobindo, is all students in this country and all teachers of English, philosophy, anthropology, history, sociology must study, along with Vande Mataram. There is almost every issue under the sun is discussed, but the spiritual Shakti of Sri Aurobindo had increased. And Sri Aurobindo was in a different plane of consciousness. He describes that experience he had at Alipur jail in the famous Uttarpara speech of 1909, in which he says Lord Krishna commanded him to take this yoga to humanity, to do sadhana in the yoga. And the sister Nivedita told Sri Aurobindo that the British were after him, it is better to leave Calcutta, he would be arrested again. So Sri Aurobindo had an adesh from above, and he left Calcutta. Instantaneously, he left in a boat to Chandanagur, which was occupied by the French. And then from Chandanagur, he had an adesh, he went to Pondicherry. Pondicherry was originally called Vedapuri. It was the place where Sri Aurobindo Ashram is situated now, is the place where Agastya had done his tapas. Sri Aurobindo's sadhana at Pondicherry is a story of the legends. From 1910 to 1914, he did enormous tapas. And from 1914 to 1921, he edited the journal Arya. The Arya, the collected works of Sri Aurobindo, runs to 40 volumes, each volume covering 1,000 pages. Nobody in human history has written so much. And in Arya, he has written future poetry, about the mantric poetry, how poetry should be in the future, and how literature should be written in the future, he has made an analysis of the poetry written so far and given an indication of how poetry should be in the future. We will come to this soon. In Arya, we have Foundations of Indian Culture. It is perhaps the first book on post-colonialism, on challenging the hegemony of colonialism. William Archer was a critic who denigrated India, and Sri Aurobindo critiqued it in this Foundations of Indian Culture. He writes in that about the strength of India, the spiritual strength of India, the Renaissance in India, how India is going through a Renaissance, and how that Renaissance must take the best from the old and the best from the new. He says that India neglected matter. The West neglected spirit. There should be an integration of spirit and matter. He does not reject science and technology. At the same time, he is against the hedonistic Western lifestyle, the dog-eat-dog Western consumeristic lifestyle. In Foundations of Indian Culture, he deals in detail about Indian architecture, Indian social order, Indian society, because they cannot speak the lies that have been propagated in the history books, that there was no India before the arrival of the British, that the British created India. All this, and Hinduism is a Brahminical faith. All this, he responds to all these charges in Foundations of Indian Culture, in which there is the best of the tradition and the best of the progressive ideas are merged in that book. It is a book that all Indians must read. It is Mother India telling her own story to us. And he is also critical of some of our social customs. He is for reformation of the society. But that reformation of society must not be divorced, must not be separated from spiritualism. And he has written extensively about Indian architecture in this, Indian society, the panchayat system of old, the social order of old, and the dharmic foundations of the Indian society, the Chola codes, the legal codes that the Cholas followed. And then you would have heard of the Uttaramerur inscription, which is near Kanchipuram, which is a graphic description of how between 8th and 11th centuries, the local self-government was followed and elections were held. There was no corruption. It was a corruption-free society. And Indian architecture, Indian music, Indian painting, Indian literature, he does an extensive survey of Indian literature from the Vedas and the Upanishads. And he says that the Vedic wisdom got filtered to society through the Bhakti movement. And he deals with the Bhakti saints. He says they went beyond the body and mind. It is the kind of poetry that we must endeavor to write. The Bhakti poets like Andal, the Saivite poets, the Nayanmars, the Vaishnavite poets, the Alvas, the Tamil Shaivite and Tamil Vaishnavite poets, then Andal, the famous Bhakti movement was born in Tamil Nadu with Andal. And then from there, it went to Andhra, to Maharashtra. You have so many great Bhakti saints from Tukaram, Namdev, so many great Bhakti saints in Maharashtra. Andhra also has a strong Bhakti. You would have heard of Annamacharya's M.S. Subbulakshmi from Madurai. She has sung them so melodiously. And from there, Mirabai. And here in United Provinces, we had Kabir Das, Sood Das, Punjab, Guru Nanak, then Kashmir, Laleshwari, Lal Dev. These poets went beyond body and mind and wrote about the divine. And they wrote poetry which did not pamper the senses. They wrote a poetry that elevated our consciousness. Sri Aurobindo wrote extensively on consciousness in his metaphysical masterpiece, The Life Divine, that consciousness, Satchidananda, it evolves and involves. It comes down, it goes up. Evolution of consciousness. That is, from inconscience to matter, matter to life, life to mind. We are in the mental civilization, but mind divides. Mind creates problems. We have to go beyond the mind. Mind is highly divisive. We have to go beyond the mind, to the higher mind, to the illumined mind, to the intuitive mind, to the over mind, and finally to the super mind. Sri Aurobindo's endeavor was to bring the super mind down so that there is harmony. If the supramental consciousness is permanently established on earth consciousness, then there is harmony. That was his great endeavor. And foundations of Indian culture is there. Future poetry is there. We will come to future poetry soon. And he wrote, this is the famous work, Future Poetry. And it is a book that all students of literature and philosophy must study. Along with The Life Divine, Savitri, his sonnets, Synthesis of Yoga, Essays on Gita. Essays on Gita is a wonderful work on the relevance of the Bhagavad Gita. And it is a very holistic understanding of the Bhagavad Gita. He says all ancient texts, there are temporal elements, there are eternal elements. We have to look at the eternal elements. Bhagavad Gita has eternal elements. And his commentaries on the Upanishads, then the secret of the Veda. In the secret of the Veda, he refutes the Aryan Dravidian theory. He gives us the mystic significance of the Vedas. And he has written on human history, the evolution of the human society. And he has written sociological writings. And he has given us historical writings, the historical evolution of humanity. And so there's not any topic, there's not a single topic that he did not write about. And he basically from 1926 to 1950, he did tapasya, in which he tried to bring the supramental consciousness down so that there is peace, there is harmony. This way, earlier, a few individuals have attained mukti, but human society had not changed. If the supramental consciousness is brought down, there will be a revolution, there will be peace, there will be harmony. So Mother continued the supramental sadhana and brought down the supermind in 1956. Now, Sri Aurobindo has written extensively on education in foundations of Indian culture in his essay Brain of India, in his essay National Education. You must have heard of Aurobindo in Pondicherry and also the Center for Education in Pondicherry. They were for an integral education. And Sri Aurobindo was also a great poet. And he has also written on poetry, on overhead poetry. Overhead poetry is a poetry which goes beyond the body and mind, which deals with the divine consciousness, which does not pander to the senses. That is, poetry should be, according to Sri Aurobindo, a mantra. And poetry should, the rishis, they had what is called as Trikala Drishti. They were beyond the past, present, and future. So Sri Aurobindo asks us to discover that mantra in poetry. The rhythmic speech, which as the Veda puts it, rises at once from the heart of the seer. For him, the poet is a rishi, is a kavi, and from the distant home of the truth, the discovery of the world, the divine movement, the form of thought proper to the reality. That is, and poetry in the past has done that in moments of supreme elevation. In the future, there seems to be some chance of it making it a more conscious aim and steadfast endeavor. So the poet should have a divine ananda. He should be a delight. That poetry should be a delight, interpretative, creative, revealing, formative, and there should be life, power, emotion should be packed into an original, creative vision. There should be spiritual joy in that poetry. And the soul of a poet should seek in a very genuine way. And that kind of poetry, there should not be mechanical rules for such poetry. And it should soar high. It should be like a revealed word. That poetry should be like a revealed word. And there are so many, it says that reason and taste are good for prose. But for poetry, it should be only reason and taste should be only minor deities. Intuition, poetry should be intuitive. He gives the examples of Walt Whitman, W.B. Yeats as promises for the future. In the past, he quotes extensively from the Vedas and Upanishads to give examples of poetry of the highest order. The Bhagavad Gita too, the poetry that is a mantra which transforms us, which takes us to higher levels of consciousness. And the infinite meaning should be embedded in the finite words. And emotions should be consecrated to the divine in poetry. And beauty and truth should not be the beauty and truth of the senses, but beauty and truth, the ideal beauty and truth, the divine beauty and truth. So, and he has in future poetry dealt with the entire history of poetry, European and Indian. And he says that future poetry should be overhead poetry, should be mantrik. In his own Savitri, in his book Savitri, he has dealt with this in it. He has given us that future poetry. And the poetry should be a mantra, and it should be a perfect expression. Each poem should be like a Veda, and it should carry the Godhead in it. Each poem should carry the Godhead in it. The power of it should be the highest power of speech. And the poetic consciousness should lead us to the ultimate summits. In his letters to Dilip Kumar Roy also, he has given us plenty of suggestions on poetry, what poetry to read, and how to write poetry. And he has hinted that in the poetry of Walt Whitman and W.B. Yeats, we have some of the seeds of future poetry. And in Savitri, he has given us the epic of the highest level. Savitri symbolizing the mother, Ashwapati symbolizing Sri Aurobindo himself and their tapas. He has dealt with every aspect of humanity, human creation, human civilization in Savitri. He has not neglected or ignored anything. And the mother, that is Savitri, she, the tapas that she did, and in trying to elevate humanity, the enormous efforts that the avatars took. What is the purpose then for an avatar? All these are dealt with in Savitri. Now, coming to education. Education for Sri Aurobindo and mother should be integral. A sound mind in a sound body. All life is yoga for Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo was against an education which was divorced from the reality of life. Sri Aurobindo said that the negative side of Buddhism and Advaita Vedanta was they stressed too much on escape from life, on Maya, and sapped the energy of the nation. And Sri Aurobindo quoted Yajnavalkya of the Upanishad, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Brahman is there everywhere. So the world is not a Maya. The world is divine. We are all divine, but divine in a veiled way. We are evolving. The divine which is beyond time and space, has chosen to limit itself to time and space for the sake of evolution. Everything is evolving. The world is not the creation of the divine. The world was not created by the divine. The world is the manifestation of the divine. It is the divine which has become this universe. Now, regarding education, Sri Aurobindo says that both matter and spirit should be given importance. So in Sri Aurobindo ashram, you will find no caste discrimination, no religious discrimination. In fact, Mahatma Gandhi has written in a letter that in his ashram, he was not able to abolish untouchability. How is it that Sri Aurobindo was able to remove untouchability in his ashram? Because there was no discrimination in Sri Aurobindo ashram. In fact, there was no discrimination between men and women. Mother said women had worked enough in the kitchen. So she delegated men to work in the kitchen. And those days, women wore shorts. Mother's feminism was totally different. It was a feminism in which women must not be attracted to men. Women must not be dependent on men. It is of a different, higher level of consciousness, not the Western feminism, which is highly materialistic. It is our own spiritual feminism. Mother says, it is in India that we have, India which says that divine is there in everyone. India, there is no dictatorial God. It is a divine that is there in everyone. We have to seek that. And Mother said, India is the guru of the world. India is the guru of the world. The whole world will one day look towards India for guidance, she says. In national education, Sri Aurobindo calls for an education which talks about the strength of India, how the rishis of old lived, what they practice brahmacharya, and they studied all the crafts, all the shastras of each craft was there, and nothing was ignored. Practical life was not ignored. The ashrams of old had taught them all the arts related to warfare, manufacturing things, the arts related to war and peace. They were taught the scriptures. They were also taught how to improve their body, how to fine-tune their body, how to fight, how to wage wars. Everything was taught in the ashrams of old. Sri Aurobindo draws our attention to Japan and says that the heroic deeds of our ancestors must be taught. We have owed a debt to posterity, he says. We have produced great philosophers. He gives the example of Adi Shankaracharya. Adi Shankaracharya was a genius at a very young age. He wrote the commentaries on the Upanishads. At the age of 13, he defeated scholars from Kaladi in Kerala. He went to Kashmir, the place which is in Pakistan occupied Kashmir, which is called Sharada Peeth. It's still there in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. and he defeated scholars. He calls Adi Shankaracharya the foremost intellectual of all times. And he cites Vivek Chudamani as a great work. He calls Buddha the greatest religious personality of all times. And he salutes the great rishis of yore for the intense tapasya for Bharatvarsha and for humanity. And he says, India is our mother. We should teach the children to love this nation. As a mother, we should teach them about the great heroes of this country, about Shivaji, about Akbar, about Ashoka. We should teach them about Maharaja Ranjit Singh of Punjab, the greatness of Punjab, the spiritual heritage of Punjab. He speaks very highly of Guru Nanak. He says it was a grand synthesis. There was a grand, Guru Nanak tried a grand synthesis at the spiritual level of Hindus and Muslims. Akbar tried a grand synthesis at the political level of the Hindus and Muslims. And Shivaji, and then, he says we must teach Kalhana, Rajatarangani, the history of Kashmir, Pandit Kalhana. So many history books have come. So the Puranas, the Itihasas, Ramayana and Mahabharata, he gives a lot of importance to Ramayana and Mahabharata. We have to teach the young generation Ramayana. There is so much in Ramayana and Mahabharata, he says. Our education should be on national lines. We should teach Western culture, only that part which does not interfere with the spirit of India. We cannot teach Western culture in its entirety. We cannot accept Western culture in its entirety because much of it is antagonistic to the spirit of India. Our education should be on national lines. We should teach them the secret of the intellectual greatness of India. What is the secret of that? And we should teach them this, why India was such a spiritually great country. Why in the past it was the beacon light of humanity. Why in the future it will be a beacon light for humanity. The superhuman moral force that we see, he says we should teach younger generation the superhuman moral force that we see in Ramayana and Mahabharata. The ancient philosophies, the Saddarshanas. In the architecture, he gives the example of the Sivasailam temple. Yes, I'm sorry, the Sri Sailam temple. He gives the example of the Srirangam temple. The temples of the south, he says, what magnificent structures they are. What philosophical depth is there in the architecture. We have to study them in detail. We have to take them to humanity. We have to teach the younger generation that. About science. Science must not be neglected. We should teach them science too. We should integrate science with spirituality. We should teach them science. We should teach them jurisprudence. The Cholas, they were great masters of jurisprudence. They practiced the Dharmashastras in the local courts. We had local self-government in the Chola period. We should teach them of the Kshatriya valor, how the Sikhs fought, how the Rajputs fought. We should teach them the secret of the Indian. He uses the word Aryan. By Aryan, he does not refer to any race. He refers to entire people of Bharatvarsha. He says how the success, the ashramas, the universities, how they were successful. We had Takshashila, we had Nalanda, we had so many universities. Brahmacharya was practiced, Brahmacharya was taught. And the culture must be inculcated in universities, colleges, as well as home. And ancient Indian philosophy was not life escaping. It taught us to lead a divine life in a divine body. We did not neglect the body. And he did not ask it to escape from life. We have to be in the Kurukshetra of life and yet live a divine life. And it was an integral vision, a vision that integrated matter with spirit, a vision that did not ignore the body, a vision which was not life denying, a vision which did not encourage monasticism or monkhood, a vision that gave importance to all aspects of life, but asking us to divinize each aspect. Each aspect should be taken to the divine. Each action, he says, the real meaning of yajna is consecrating each action to the divine. That is the yajna. Each action of ours should be a yajna. So he asked us to form a national education in which we are able to convey the infinite energy of India, the Prakriti, the Maya Shakti that pervades not just India, humanity, the leaders of the world. He praises the Prophet of Islam. In one of his writings, Sri Aurobindo praises the Prophet of Islam. And he says, let us see the Narayana in the Muslim too. He says, let us present the positive views about the Muslims. His view was, his goal was national integration. He was not for cheap politics, narrow politics, but at the same time, he was not for pampering anybody. Sri Aurobindo's vision was an integral vision, a vision that transcended narrow barriers. And he was against the partition of India. He sent Doraiswamy Iyer, congressman, to meet Rajagopalachari and Mahatma Gandhi and asked them in 1942 to accept the Crips proposals. He was against the partition of the country. He foresaw a lot of difficulties if the country was partitioned. He admired Sardar Patel a lot. He was critical of some of the policies of the Congress vis-a-vis the Khilafat movement. Sri Aurobindo cannot be placed in any narrow category. Ultimately, his integral yoga or Purna yoga asks us to go even beyond religions, to take the best from the religions and go beyond that to the supramandal consciousness, which is beyond religions. The overmind consciousness is the region of the religions. And so in the ashram school, Center for Education, you find education which gives importance to sports, an education which gives importance to gymnastics, an education which gives importance to bodybuilding. So intellect should be sharpened. The body also should be active. It should be an education which is free from examinations and worries, stress, the rat race. It is an ideal education. And poetry also, he was for, Sri Aurobindo's poetry was kind of poetry envisioned was a poetry that was beyond the body-mind, limited body-mind phenomena. The mystics had mystics, like Blake. They wrote such poetry. Rumi wrote such poetry. The Bhakti saints wrote such poetry. So Sri Aurobindo was holistic and integral in every way. Sri Aurobindo and Mother brought down the supramandal consciousness. We are living in a globalized era. They were for integrating humanity. They were for elevating human consciousness. They were for elevating earth, divinizing earth consciousness. In Auroville, you find members from all parts of the world. They were for integrating science with spirituality. They were not against it. They were against exploiting nature. They were not for humiliating any member of any religion. At the same time, we should protect our dharmic traditions. they should not be under danger. Our Sanatana Dharma is against humiliating members of other religions. But Sri Aurobindo and Mother go beyond all this finally to humanity, to the global order. Sri Aurobindo, as a politician, was very shrewd and his political acumen was sharp. He foresaw the invasion of Chinese invasion in 1949 itself. He knew the consequences of partition. Hence, he was against it. He respected the mystic traditions in all religions. They were for divinizing humanity and divinizing the world, creating a spiritual world order. Hope that future humanity will give concrete shape to their integral vision. We can only study their writings and try to live according to the standards that they have set for humanity. They themselves set very high standards in their personal life. We see them as divine in human form. When we are children of Sri Aurobindo and Mother, we are not members of any religion or caste or race or country. We are beyond that. We are children of the divine. Let us be worthy of that. Om Namo Bhagavate. I thank the people here for gathered for this yajna. For this is not a seminar but a yajna. And Sri Acharya Chandrasekhar Ji, he is an elevated soul, a sadhak, whom I consider as my own elder brother and husband, whom I adore and admire and cherish. And I thank him for making me a very minor participant in this mighty yajna that he is doing. Let us all be worthy of Sri Aurobindo and Mother. Thank you.
Very, very Dr. Ramaswamy Subramani Garu. It's a great joy listening to you. You have vast knowledge of Indian religious traditions. You have written extensively on the Bhakti movements on Ramana Maharshi, on Sri Aurobindo, and divine life, integral yoga, and so many other path-making lives of Indian saintly persons belonging to different.
request. I request Sri H. Sridevi Madam to propose vote of thanks.
మీరే కోహోస్ట్ అంటారు వస్తుంది ఇప్పుడు ఇది చూస్తా ఉండు కొంచెం Good evening, everyone. I, Sri Devi, feel very privileged to be able to present here on this auspicious occasion to deliver a vote of thanks on behalf of our English department on today's webinar topic, the spirit of national education according to Sri Aurobindo, problems and prospects. As we all know that saying you is a respectful way to show appreciation towards a person, but this would be less for our today's resource person, Dr. Prabhavati Erneni, Professor, Department of English from VNR VJIT Vignan Jyoti, Hyderabad, was present here to deliver her speech about the spirit of integral education according to Sri Aurobindo. Her talk not only gave us knowledge but about awakening our inner sensing. We could clearly understand from her lecture. I would also like to thank our second speaker, Dr. Malati P. Sharma, Professor of English from Sri Kalyan Rajkiya Kanya Mahavidyalaya, Srikar, Rajasthan, has delivered a renowned speech. India has developed from time to time, which was clearly understood by everyone. Thank you so much for taking your time and teaching us new things. I would like to thank our third speaker, Dr. R.V. Jain Kashmir, Associate Professor of English from Yogi Vemana University, Kadapa, Andhra Pradesh, has delivered his speech, which was clearly understood by everyone. Thank you so much for taking your time. I would like to thank our fourth speaker, Dr. Ramaswamy Subramaniam, Professor of English Foreign Languages from Ghasidas Vishwavidyalaya, Central University, Bilaspur, Chhattisgarh, has delivered his speech. Thank you so much for taking your time and give us new things. Next, I would like to thank our principal because of whom this seminar was possible. He organized this event and enabled us to learn new things about technology and also about our country. Our honorable correspondent also played the role of as a backbone to us and helped us in organizing this webinar. A special thanks goes to our Sri K.S. Chandrasekhar Sir, IQAC coordinator and Department of English HOD Lakshmi Saraswati Garu, who took the responsibility of this seminar to be a success. They invited delegates and motivated students to be participants in this seminar. I would thank all our departmental members for making this seminar a grand success. I would like to thank the technicians without whom this couldn't have been a success. I thank the print and electronic media for their support. Today, students' participation upon invitation has made this seminar a grand success as it was able to attract the attention of all curious and motivated students who are willing to learn and explore. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.